Hey, thanks for joining me today on another episode of Inbound TV. My name is Kenny, and today we're going to talk about paid advertising diversification. I was recently in a meeting where we were discussing the avenues that a company was using to create new customer acquisition, and they were really not diversified as much as they should be, which started to have more discussion about why diversify, how to diversify, where to diversify, and what the diversification system looks like in paid advertising. So today I want to break down a couple of different avenues that you could use and you can start to think about when diversifying your ad budget. And then also, what are the key factors that I think about and why you would want to actually diversify an advertising budget, especially in 2024. When it becomes a more political year, a more heavy advertising year with very aggressive, high budget competitors in the marketplace. It's really important that you use your budget as smart as possible to maximize your reach, maximize your potential, and help you get as much leverage in the marketplace. So let's dive into the types of diversification. I have everything built on a whiteboard right here. I took some time to actually put it together real quick right before we started this. And I think it's a good way to think about how to diversify. So first, let's talk about the different types of platforms that you could use. Now, there's platforms tucked into these kind of categories I put them in. For instance, social media. Social media includes the meta products like Facebook and Instagram. It includes TikTok, it includes Snapchat, it includes LinkedIn. All of those social arenas where you could actually put ads into the marketplace in front of consumers that are looking for your products and services. But we'll categorize it as a whole big bucket and just say social media. Same goes for search engines. That could be categorized under Google or Bing or Yahoo or even YouTube, right? So social media is a great outlet, and in this recent discussion was their sole outlet for new customer acquisition. New customer acquisition with social media is a great way, but you have to start to think about the advertising spend that you're putting into the marketplace. Is the advertising spend being leveraged in its most potential? So you have social media advertising, a ton of platforms there. Search engine advertising, a ton of platforms there. You have TV and radio, traditional and streaming. I put just streaming up here, but streaming could include podcasts and other audio segments as well. TV and radio is a big thing and has dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of channels or stations that you could use to put your actual ad in front of different consumers based off of their viewership. You have billboards in print. I consider this more like mailers, or probably the most significant form of print advertising today. That can also include magazines or newspapers or anything like that. Now, be careful with this because you have to look at the customer acquisition costs, but it is still relevant in some marketplaces. And then the other sites like, let's say weather.com or any of the other types of platforms that use social or search ads or as partners, where you could actually click a button when you're doing your social media and search engine ads that says, I want these ads to be placed on third-party partners where they're actually allowing the ads from the search or social platforms to be placed on their website. There's millions of websites like that. Those are also another way for you to get in front of consumers. More particularly a great result for retargeting and omnipresence, but not all your eggs in that basket. That would be more for additional budget to increase frequency and increase awareness and again, omnipresence. And then anything else everyone's doing for the additional bracket. There's other things that people are doing. We're not going to be talking about referrals or networks or communities or anything like that, Facebook groups or anything of that nature, but these are the biggest ways for paid advertising specifically. And there's a lot of smaller platforms tucked onto all of these categories. Now, when you're placing your ad budget inside of these categories, you have to think about a couple of key factors. One of the biggest key factors, which I highlighted at the top of the whiteboard, is quality versus quantity. Now, let's just look at an example for social media against search engines. If we're running an advertisement on Facebook and we're running an advertisement on Google, The user needs to actually search for your product or service in order to see your ad in Google, on Google search. So if you're running your Google search ad, the intent for that user is already there. You're just entering their pathway of purchasing and or their need to fulfill a service. And your presence at the top of that search engine is going to increase your likelihood of someone choosing you opposed to any of your competitors in the marketplace. So the intent of that user is already there. They're looking for that product or service, they're typing it in on their phone or on the computer, they're searching for it, and then you're there right in front of them, and that's when they select you. On social media, it's a little bit different. We don't 100% know that that person is looking or seeking your product or service. We know that they might be a great fit based off of their interests, behaviors, demographics, geographics, and whatnot, but we don't 100% know that they're in the market to purchase. So when you look at these types of things, one is going to give you quantity and one is going to give you quality. Now, there are ways to enhance quality and quantity on these platforms independently, but you have to look at what platform is going to give me more lead flow at maybe a somewhat intentful buyer, but a good cost. The cost per acquisition or the cost per lead there might be pretty affordable. And then what's the other platform going to bring as far as cost per lead and cost per acquisition? I want to break down real quick what the difference between cost per lead and cost per acquisition is. If you are advertising on, let's say, Facebook, and you get 10 leads at a lead cost of $20 per lead, that's $200 spent. Your lead cost, your cost per lead is $20, but your cost to acquire a sale is completely different. Let's say you convert 20, or if you have 10 leads, let's say you convert one of those leads, just for the sake of this conversation. You convert at 10%. That would mean that it costs you $200 to acquire the customer. Your cost per lead is $20, but your cost per acquisition is $200 because you only closed one out of the 10 leads. So if you look at these different metrics, you have to see what the difference is between your cost per acquisition from platform to platform. That's what's going to show you your difference between quality and quantity. You might have more leads on a platform, but less convert, meaning that your cost per acquisition is higher. But you might have less leads on another platform, but you convert at a very high rate. Maybe you convert at 80% of those leads, which means that your cost per acquisition would be pretty solid. It would be closer to your cost per lead. So you have to look at that. Each platform is going to have its completely different cost per acquisition. And some platforms are going to be easier to calculate that metric than others. One platform might be very cut and dry. It might be, we know exact cost per leads on Facebook. We know exactly how many we convert. And it's a simple math equation. On TV or radio or billboards, it's going to be really difficult to see that unless you're really thorough at understanding how you're bringing in foot traffic to a retail store or how you're bringing in lead flow by asking every consumer, which they're not 100% sure 100% of the time, then it may be difficult to track. So some of these metrics are a little bit difficult to analyze, but just do your best. Use a marketing form. We use marketing forms in many of the sales processes that we offer for clients. We help analyze, hey, we're marketing on these platforms this month or this quarter. So if someone does come in, it's likely that they've heard of us from one of these platforms. When you sell something, ask the consumer, how did they hear of us? And when they answer, then you can get a little bit more granular of a view on where your foot traffic or where your traffic and your conversions are coming from. So a little bit of a side note there, but let's go back to the whiteboard. These are your platforms that you could use in order to create diversification. And we've kind of placed an importance on the quality versus quantity aspect. But a couple of other key factors for why you would want to do diversification of your ad spend is basically broken up between these 5 different elements. First is risk. If all of your eggs are in one basket and something happens to that basket, then you are 100% open to having a big issue for your business. If you're 100% allocated towards one platform and it gets cut or it gets paused or something happens in that nature and you cannot perform in that platform, then you are open to ruining 100% of your new customer acquisition, which is a big, big issue for many businesses. So risk is a really big thing. The more you diversify with intent, let me say, and with an understanding and a systematic approach so that you're generating leads, you are understanding that you do have a conversion value from those platforms, and you're spending in a proper fashion, then you reduce your risk. Obviously, when you have one platform that you're doing very well on, you don't want to maybe shave your budget down too much, so you have to add another platform, which is a hurdle for some businesses, depending on where you are in your current state of marketing. But diversifying can help reduce risk and maximize long-term potential, and also create more value for your business. When someone wants to purchase a business, they do evaluate the risk potential that comes along with that business. If one employee is impacting all of the new customer acquisition and something happens to that employee, it is definitely detrimental to that business. So you have to look at the risk value of this. Another factor outside of risk would be the viewership and frequency. Where people spend their time today acquiring knowledge or obtaining and viewing content is different than where it was 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Newspapers had a really big presence in the marketplace, but not as much today. You know, if you spend X amount on the newspaper, you have to know what your potential viewership is. So areas like search engines, social media platforms, streaming platforms have some of the most viewership today and the highest amount of frequency that you can place in the marketplace. The types of ads that you put in front of people should be determined based off of how much you want them to see your business or your ad, and how many new people you want to see that ad. So you have to start to think about, where are people spending their time? Two things to look at is, one, every single marketplace or every single vertical, right? Roofers, opposed to maybe car dealers, might have different places where consumers spend their time. One may spend more time on social media, the other may spend more time on search engines. So depending on your business and your market, the place where people consume content may be different. And then additionally, the other thing to think about is how expensive and how much is the cost to acquire the viewership within these platforms, which changes depending on industry as well. So podcasts or audio platforms, streaming channels, some channels, finance channels are more expensive or news channels are more expensive than some other channels, right? You have to think about where I can place my budget with intent and intelligently, so that you could increase and maximize frequency, maximize viewership without really beating up your budget too much. If newspaper costs $10,000 a month, might not be the right place. Although there are certain circumstances where it can make sense for certain businesses. So it's not a one size fits all. Every business in your area and in your vertical make an impact on a change for how and why people consume content. All right, so your geography is important and your business category is important when choosing the right platforms. Two key things there. After that, you have to look at intent. The intent, like I talked about earlier, when someone Googled a particular product or service, the intent there was a lot higher. They're already in the market for purchasing the product. They're already seeking that. It's already in their mind that they want to purchase or be a part of that service or product. So the intent is very high, where opposed to that situation, you have someone on social media or someone on TV that might be the right fit for the product, but you put the ad in front of the consumer and they say, yeah, well, maybe that's something that I would like, or maybe I'm interested in that, based off of just sheer ability of you creating their interest in the product based off of your ad. So intent is a really important thing too. You have to consider some platforms have higher intent, which is going to lead to lower cost per acquisitions, or maybe high cost per acquisitions, but you convert at a higher level, right? If you convert at 80% of the leads, it might make sense to invest into that type of advertising strategy. Relevance is another key thing. If you're submitting ads for, let's say, a product for, let's say kitchens, right? Maybe you have a very nifty kitchen tool. LinkedIn might not be a great place for you. It's very sidetracked and kind of not direct towards people that are trying to really digest content relevant to business. So the platform that you choose is really important. The station, right, the channel, the TV channel, if you have a very nifty kitchen appliance that you're trying to promote, it may be beneficial to put that on HGTV or any type of other home and design TV channel as a commercial. But it might be completely out there to put it on another type of commercial where their buyer is just not even there. Like, let's say a cartoon, Nickelodeon or a Cartoon Network or something of this sort. Well, the person watching and consuming that content might not even be able to purchase the appliance. They're too young. They're not in your demo, right? Your demographics need to align with the platform. So relevance is a really important thing. And lastly, the impact that you make on that platform. Creativity is one of the biggest aspects to good performers on social media ads. If your advertisement is creative and flows and is fun or has intent and is impactful on the market or the marketplace and the consumers that you're looking to target, then it could have a really great result. Same thing goes for TV. We all know those famous Super Bowl commercials. They're funny, they're different, they're out there, and they do really well because they make a lasting impression to consumers when there's a high amount of consumers watching those channels. So Super Bowl commercials are a really great way to observe creativity and differentiation in the marketplace from other competitors for those TV advertisers. That is a really impactful thing as well. With those 5 different things, I'll go over one more time, those 5 different key factors: risk, viewership, intent, relevance, and impact. Those key factors should help you understand what platforms are best for you, where you should place your advertising budget, how you should place your advertising budget, and why you should do it. Paid advertising diversification is really, really important, especially for scaling. So I hope that this video helps offer some value in where you can diversify and how you can get this done, and also just why you should do it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Create more impact in the marketplace and continue to scale in 2024. Hope you have a wonderful new year. Happy New Year to everybody. We're going to kick this year off with an amazing series for Inbound TV every week on Fridays at 1 p.m. And I hope that you have an amazing kickstart to the new year. You continue to grow your business. And if you have any thoughts or questions about this video, put them in the comments. We love to answer them or help create additional videos on top of the questions that we see come in. Thanks for watching.